You can drive a Lamborghini, you can drive a Honda Civic, but it's not like what you drive, it's like how you drive it. If you're fat and out of shape, there's a very high chance it's going to take you longer to get in the mood to have a meeting, to hold a presentation. You're probably not going to be that passionate about it. But if your body is alive, if you feel awake, if you've had a workout beforehand, you're going to feel way more ready. So I think quality of life here really, really matters. The reason you get out of shape is because you go for the gratification. And it doesn't happen overnight. It just happens over many, many nights. And typically it's the same pattern that you see over and over again. It's a guy that's stressed, he's trying to get a project over the line, he's had one late night, then a bit of alcohol to cool him down over the weekend, maybe some drugs over the weekend, and then loads of food. And it just happens day in, day out. And it's all in the name of business because they're trying to finish off some projects, but before you know it, you're fat, lazy, and out of shape. So then in order to keep that hamster wheel going, you have to have more of the same stuff.
Welcome back to the PerformWell podcast. This is the podcast for you if you're looking for performance and wellness optimization so that you can not only smash your career, but also have a better life, better relationships, and better health. We believe that performance and wellness are yin and yang and work together. So listen in as we dive into topics that are going to help you optimize your life for the better. Welcome back to the PerformWell podcast, and today we're going to inspire you. Let's welcome Kamal Mamedov, the Instagram fitness sensation and serial fit pro entrepreneur. Now, Kamal, we've just heard that you've been back from America. How was it?
Dude, first of all, that was such a great introduction. Thank you for that.
No worries, man. Had a bit of practice.
America's awesome, man. Americans are like Brits with a lot of self-belief. It's really cool. It's a very, very abundant place. I feel like people have a much higher risk appetite, and yeah, it's just a really cool place. I love it.
Beautiful, man. How was the food? I'm really interested.
Oh, dude, it's just bigger and more syrupy. It just tastes better. Just more fat, sugar, and salt. All the good stuff.
Oh, man, I just hear that, like, genuinely across the board with the diet as well, from the American perspective, as you say, everything is just bigger. But like, in terms of, I'm really curious, and this is just something, obviously, being in the fitness industry.
Sure.
Someone told me that when you go into like supermarkets, the first thing, like in most of our supermarkets, they try and do is put like groceries in front of us. Like we're talking like your fruits, your veg. In American supermarkets, it tends to be like your ultra processed foods. It's the first thing you see. It's just like.
It's funny you say that, actually. I've literally FaceTimed one of my friends as I was walking into a random supermarket. I can't remember where it was, but it was actually the complete opposite. I was greeted by this ice bath of watermelons that were nicely cut up, and then there was loads of fruit, loads of fresh produce. Actually a little bit suspiciously fresh, to the point where it looks fake. Like the apples are so fucking red. It's ridiculous. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah, of course you can.
Okay, they're so fucking red. It's ridiculous. Everything looks incredible. Great presentation. You know, like you go to a UK Subway. Mm-hmm. And the tomatoes are like just disgusting, like gammy looking lettuce, really flaccid. You go to the US one and everything's like incredibly fresh. It's great.
Well, it's like when you see like Burger King adverts and everything just looks so much better when you see it on the advert, and then you pick up the burger and it's basically just floppy.
Yeah,
you just like it's still the same. It's still the same.
That's because when they do food placement photos, they don't use food. They use like whipped cream and all kinds of weird stuff like. Interesting, man.
Yeah, big old lie, isn't it?
But what we'll do, I think we delve into a little bit of topic conversation, as we kind of said there. So we want to talk again about your own journey, your own story. So can you give us kind of a background to yourself and then what your vision is, what you're looking to achieve with your brand?
Damn, that is a great question. Background. So I grew up completely obsessed with Rambo, JCVD movies, like all those kind of macho films, and even as a kid, I used to, when no one was home, I'd watch a fight scene and then I'd try to reenact it myself. I'd pretend like I'm in a movie.
Nice.
And then like I'd see Arnold Schwarzenegger doing press ups, so I'd be like, yep, that's must be how he got so big. So yeah, just that's where my journey began. Just really wanted to improve myself, get stronger. Fitness side of things, I think for me, kind of really took off when I moved to the UK when I was about 12. Didn't really speak the language, and I went through the classic thing where kids get bullied and stuff. So I thought the only way I'm going to be able to defend myself is if I do some training. So that's I joined a profile. It's like one of those government gyms, profiles gym, where dumbbells go up to about 5 kilos. But that was enough to get started. Started doing that, started doing boxing, and then yeah, just fell in love with it from there.
Yeah, I
Nice.
love that. I love that.
Then we moved on to
Carry on.
what's that? Sorry,
Carry on. My internet's cutting out, so
it's all good.
completely
It's all
interrupted
good.
you.
Uh, yeah, yeah. So and then yeah, fitness has kind of been a big part of my journey the entire way through. Um, I actually went to uni to do sports science, which my parents have persuaded me to do. And even throughout college, I picked the topics I wasn't really so passionate about. Failed the first year of A levels, so I moved college because I was so bad. Did like some sports-based education there, um, and then yeah, did uni, and then I dropped out after about 6 months of that. And the reason I dropped out was because I realized that I wasn't really living the life for myself, and I wasn't doing any of what I was doing for myself, essentially. I was studying sports science, and I remember being in the back of a class. And when you're in a room, and the whole room, even though there's people speaking, kind of goes quiet in your head, and your thoughts become really, really apparent and really loud. And I remember I had my laptop right in front of me. I was researching like, Shopify marketing and all that sort of stuff. I was really passionate about marketing back then. Um, and yeah, I just realized, you know what, I'm not doing this for myself. So I remember walking out of that class halfway through. Yeah, dropped out that month. And around the same sort of time frame, we moved into, I think it would have been, I had a business partner at the time. Yeah, we kind of started taking off on the fitness side of things. Went into a gym, started doing some personal training, and now we're here.
Oh,
Mate,
damn, you've been quite the journey. I was going to say sports science, that side of it. I mean, that's again kind of mine and Nick's background. I did my degree. I went through the whole thing, and I actually, in terms of that, I do see where you're coming from because the amount of times you sit in the lecture halls, you're like, actually, none of this is going to benefit me right now. Like, when am I going to teach people about
Atoms.
acids or yeah, well,
Yeah,
atoms and like how the body works? When have I ever explained Krebs cycle to a client?
yeah,
That
yeah,
doesn't get me
exactly.
money. That gets me nothing. And in terms of when you look at it from a business perspective, it doesn't really come into it. But you get some knowledge. That's what you pay 60K for some knowledge. That if you knew the
Bargain.
techniques to learn it, then you could have done it for free.
yeah,
But here we are with
and a
that.
little bit of wasting time as well. Like, let's face it, we don't all,
It's the parting, right?
yeah, we don't all go to uni just for the learning. We go because we want a bit more time to decide. We want to get a bit of knowledge along the way, and then we have a little bit more time just to feel that pressure get off us a little bit. Um,
Mm.
yeah, but I did fitness and personal training, which in theory is a sports science type of sports science. It's just very focused on the personal training element. So I think the only thing that we didn't go through was like um, certain
Was that
chemical
a
reactions
course?
and stuff in the
Personal
body.
training
But
was a course at uni? That's amazing.
Yeah,
yeah, sorry, mate. Guys, anyone listening, by the
yeah.
way, if I keep cutting out and interrupting, it's because my internet is absolutely dog today. Okay, so there we go.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's having a night. But
this
it's
is
actually a
annoying.
course. Yeah, they did it at. So Nick went to Southampton. I went to Portsmouth, and there's just very different variations in the course they did. But I find the personal training course is, it's a more practical one, and you come out of it saying, "I'm a qualified personal trainer." So technically, some of the money you're paying, you can see as an investment.
Yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
when I do a sports scientist, as I say, like, yeah, I've got a degree, but when am I ever going to conduct tests on anyone at any given point without having to spend a fortune on getting equipment? So it's just not viable. Actually, this brings us round to an interesting point as well. We kind of want to talk about yourself getting in shape because you're in cracking shape. I'm going to be honest, mate. You
Thanks,
look
mate.
fantastic.
Photoshop.
Um, isn't it all? Trust me, these aren't real. But you also are running a business. So for yourself, what came first, getting into shape or building your business?
So I think it would have been getting into shape. And the reason was getting into shape is, I mean, to start off with, to be able to defend myself, but then eventually it's because you realize that, girls exist and you try to impress them. So you think getting an amazing body is going to be the thing that does it. And then you realize you just attract more dudes into your life,
Yeah, that is so true.
which is most of my Instagram following.
Is it?
But yeah, I think it's paramount that you stay in shape. I mean, do you know what? This is the crazy thing. In the last few years, I've met some of the most incredibly successful people I have ever have in my life. Some multimillionaires, some like incredible people, and a lot of them are out of shape. And I have been questioning this for such a long time. Like, how have you managed to get yourself to that point? But there's definitely a correlation between your energy levels. Actually, one of my good friends has made this example of, you can have like a Lamborghini, you can drive a Lamborghini, you can drive a Honda Civic, And at some point, they're probably going to drive at the same speed, like on a motorway or something. But it's not like what you drive, it's like how you drive it. If you're fat and out of shape, there's a very high chance it's going to take you longer to get in the mood to have a meeting, to hold a presentation. You're probably not going to be that passionate about it. But if your body's alive, if you feel awake, if you've had a workout beforehand, you're going to feel way more ready. So I think quality of life here really, really matters.
Preach it, man.
It's interesting you bring that up as well. I wanted to throw something in there. So you said about, obviously, there was one saying that I listened to on a podcast, and I think it was a Stephen Bartlett podcast, and he turned around and said about, you never want to be the big fat man driving a Lamborghini. That's just nobody's vision. Everyone wants to drive a Lamborghini, but when you picture yourself, you're always in shape.
That's so true.
As you say, like why are most of these business owners out of shape, and why are they not prioritizing their health and fitness? They have the money, they can create the time. Technically, they can create the time. So why do you think as well? You find
values.
Yeah, what we don't hate, we tolerate, and it gets to the point where if it doesn't really hold you back, if your money can buy the things that you're uncomfortable with, then you're going to carry on. And that's what you notice. The reason you get out of shape is because you go for the gratification, and it doesn't happen overnight. It just happens over many, many nights. And typically it's the same pattern that you see over and over again. It's a guy that's stressed. He's trying to get a project over the line. He's had one late night, then a bit of alcohol to cool him down over the weekend, maybe some drugs over the weekend, and then loads of food. And it just happens day in and day out. And it's all in the name of business because they're trying to finish off some projects, but before you know it, you're fat, lazy, and out of shape. So then in order to keep that hamster wheel going, you have to have more of the same stuff.
I agree completely. Hopefully Nick's internet stabilised a little bit. Do you want to throw the next line out there?
I keep trying to jump in, but then as soon as I start freezing, I'm like, I don't want to interrupt you guys. It's really annoying. But anyway, it is what it is. I mean, this kind of leads on to obviously we've had a lot of entrepreneurs on the podcast. That's kind of who we like to help because we believe, like what you said, that being in a healthier shape makes you a better entrepreneur, makes you a better person, to be fair. And so those entrepreneurs that are quite young, let's say in the mid-20s, maybe early 20s, they're grinding away, building their businesses. They don't tend to do much about their health. They don't see it as a problem because they're young, right? But how do we motivate and inspire and influence these people? Have you got me?
That's a great question. Are most of your clients men or women?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah. How do we?
I've got a combination of both, but me and Nick between us is kind of.
How do we influence? Dan. This is what happens. Anyway, right. How do we inspire?
My internet was doing the same thing. I'm literally sitting right next to my Wi-Fi router right now.
Mate, this is the first time.
So it's a good
We need to connect that wired Ethernet cable, and that's what we need. But how do we inspire those ones that don't feel like their health is a priority and they're building their business to actually try and get in shape and look after their health?
I think it's two different answers depending on what. Look, it's going to come down to the point. I'm 30 years old now, and I never thought I'd get this old. Especially being.
Don't worry about that.
I remember when we first launched the gym, I was like in my 20s, early 20s, and I remember 30-year-olds coming in and being like, "Fuck me, they're old." Like they always talk about their past and all the rest of it, and how they're out of shape now. And back when I was your age, I used to look like you, or I used to be able to jump up and down. And I listened to a podcast, and someone said, "There's going to be a day in your life where you're going to take your last ever jump." Like, think about it now. When was the last time you jumped? And there's going to be the last day in your life where you're going to do a press up. That day is going to come. And I just really don't want that day to come. I don't think any of us do. I think whether you're 20 years old, 25, 30, I think what's really important to recognize is that there's going to be a day that comes where your metabolism is going to slow down and you're going to have to work way harder to kick it back up. And I've seen some people who are really close to me actually, or in my network, who have been in incredible shape. So the guys that you just absolutely aspire to be like, but now they're so out of shape, but completely rich, and you can tell they're really unhappy. So I don't have any other advice to give rather than just start doing shit. Don't stop moving your body. Like, if you miss one day, fine. You had a busy day, you had to have a late night, but don't miss 2 days in a row because that's how it becomes a habit. And more importantly, apart from, Nick and Dan, to whoever is listening to this, no one's gonna come and save you. Like, no one's gonna do it for you. No one's if you're fat, no one's gonna come and slap a cake out of your hand. And if you're poor, no one's gonna throw money at you. So for if you train mostly entrepreneurs, they're going to understand the risk versus reward, and the ROI of their time. If they invest their time into the business, they're gonna get some money. But if they neglect their CRM, their pipeline's going to dry up. If they're going to neglect their eating habits, then they're going to get fat at some point. So I think just surround yourself with people. Your environment really matters as well a lot of the time. I think people usually get out of shape when they're around fat people or they're on their own.
Yeah. So, okay, mate, I mean, that's inspirational stuff. Anyone listening, that's a lot of value you're going to get from that alone. But
Thanks.
we've got something to talk about right now. Okay, I've heard from a couple of entrepreneurs, Dodge Whittle in particular, who we had one, great guy, say that your business is you. And if you are broken or you are not looking after yourself in some way, your business is also broken. How true do you think that is?
Love it. Dude, that's so true. So true. Yeah, so true. I mean, it translates into every other aspect of life as well, right? If you're keeping fit, I think it is a fallacy that people who are into fitness are disciplined. By the way, I think you don't. All of us are consistent. Just a lot of us are consistent at the wrong things. So, I mean, if you don't like exercise and you actively choose to go out in the morning and do exercise, then it's going to translate into other aspects of life. So there is definitely that. So every year I do some kind of a challenge, and the one a couple of years ago was ice baths. Doing an ice bath every single day for 100 days straight, and we started on the 1st of January, I think, which was fucking freezing. Like, I remember the first day, boys, I opened the back door to get to my ice bath, and the wind just slaps me in the face. It was freezing cold. I'm already cold. I just woke up, and then I closed the door right back. Didn't want to go out. I literally just paced up and down my living room, my kitchen, over and over again for probably, honestly, about 15 minutes. Grown-ass man just pacing up and down his room, trying to avoid the cold. But something amazing happens after a while. You get into the ice bath, you sit in there for a minute, it's disgusting. The next day you show up again and again and again. And what that did for me mentally, I didn't do it for any of the health benefits. I mainly did it just so I can do hard shit to myself so that the rest of my life doesn't seem as hard. And I think the thing that really helps in all my other aspects of life was when you get to the point in the ice bath where you just say you're there for 5 minutes and you want to push past to the 6th minute. You will probably end up doing that. You'll challenge yourself and you'll execute the 6 minutes. And the way it translates into every other aspect of life is when you're sitting there, 9 p.m., you have to get a project done. You're sleepy, you're tired, but there's about half an hour of work to do. You're going to end up doing that half an hour of work. So I think being intentional is, what really, really matters. Most people don't live an intentional life. And most people don't lead their life. Most of us wake up and repeat the same patterns as we did yesterday. Have the same thoughts as well. And we just accept our life rather than choosing the thoughts that we want to think, consuming the foods we want to consume, feeling the way we want to feel. But we're just on autopilot. So I think doing hard shit like that, where you come out of your comfort zone, is ultimately the only way you're gonna wake yourself back up. So fitness is such a great, tangible, fast way of doing that because there's instant gratification. Like, you have a tough workout, you sweat it out. There's dopamines all over the place. Your epinephrine levels are really high up. You're suddenly really enthusiastic. So even if you're depressed before that session started, at the end of it, you're gonna have a much clearer head. So it's so important for everything.
Mate, I love that, man. I'm actually reading a book at the moment, which is called This.
Oh, nice.
Is it backwards?
Nope.
No, it's straight. It's actually bang
Perfect. On my side, it was backwards. It's a bit annoying. It sounds like you know a little bit about the law of attraction, the secret, that side of thing, from what you just spoke about. And I think, that side of things is really important. I also know that you told me you've done 75 hard. Now, which one would you say is the most important? Doing something that makes life more uncomfortable or following the law of attraction first, if you only picked one?
Well, I think the main part of law of attraction is the action part.
Yeah.
You can't think your way into £1 million, right? You can certainly attract it and put yourself into that wavelength, but you can't think yourself into it. You have to feel it. So the beauty of 75 hard, I think, first of all, I delayed it for many, many years. It was on my mind for a few years, and I didn't do it. And I just remember this day when I thought, oh, maybe I will do 75 hard this time. And then I thought, no, that sounds terrible. And as soon as I heard my brain say that sounds terrible, like that weakness of the mind, I was like, fuck, well, now I have to do it. Because I think how you do anything is how you do everything. And as soon as you allow your mind to become weak, I was afraid of what's going to happen next. Like, what else am I going to say no to? That's good for me. And don't get me wrong, I think the challenge sucked for a lot of reasons. I came into the challenge thinking it's not healthy to work for those of you who don't know, the challenge is you have to work out twice a day, every single day. You follow a diet, you read 10 pages of a book, drink 4 liters of water. I can't remember the other ones, but anyway, there's a couple of other things. But working out every single day doesn't sound healthy. You should probably have a break at some point. But what it's taught me is how adaptable we are. Obviously, I don't know, day 20, day 25, I sprained my wrist and it was killing, and I couldn't really box anymore as well. But I still had my left hand, and I still had my knees and legs and everything else, so I can still move my body. So I think that's the beauty of the challenge. You will get injured probably. You'll probably get inflamed, but then you're going to work through it. My wrist is stronger than it ever has been before, and you will come out on the other end of it. But I think the lesson here is that the only way out is through. So yeah, I think you just, we'll play to the level of our goals. Whatever your goal is, you're gonna rise to the occasion. Just make your goals a bit bigger.
I agree completely. Like, one of the big sayings I've got is it's all about, a lot of people's successes is like aggressive consistency. At the end of the day, if you're not aggressive about your consistency and you're just going in mamby-pamby, most likely you're not going to stick to it, and over about 7 days you'll probably drop off. And I find that with anyone who thinks that they can commit to training programs by themselves, and it sounds really crude, I know a lot of people can follow training programs themselves, but like 90% of the people who turn around to like fitness, I'm sure you've had this, Kamal, as well, where someone just turns around and say, oh, can you write me a training program? And in your head you immediately go, you're not going to stick to this though.
Yeah.
No matter, even if I write this. Exactly, you're not going to follow it, because it's not the purpose of having that plan in front of you to follow. It's having someone tell you that by doing this, you're going to get from X to Y really simply and really easily, and having that kind of passion. And one of the big things I've followed up on mindset-wise for me personally is I've spoken a lot to myself about locking in and getting in. Like, you can lock in mentally to do something, but you need to get in the thick of it to do it. Like, me and Nick have seen a rise in our business recently because both of us has locked in simultaneously, and we're getting into the action, getting into the undergrowth, and doing stuff that makes me uncomfortable. Like, for example, I personally hate DMing people, like cold DMing especially. Absolutely despise it. But actually, I found that there's so many more wonderful conversations you can have with people. And I find that's a mindset you get with a lot of like business owners, self-employed people, fit pros especially. And it was kind of always shown through, I think obviously we've had the Olympics recently, you see they're locked in and they kick when they need to kick to get to where they need to get to. And I want to actually go into your content a little bit, Kamal, as well, because your content has hit millions of people. Let's be honest, you've reached a lot of people with your content over the last few years. I think one of the highest I saw was like 2.6 million or something you got for views.
Maybe on Instagram, yeah. TikTok is hit and miss. Sometimes it's really high, sometimes it's really low.
Standard TikTok.
Yeah.
But with your content, let's go into that a little bit. What kind of inspires you to make the content you make every single day? What makes you be aggressively consistent with that?
Do you know what one of the biggest realizations I've had with content? So for context, a big part of my life was coaching people for many, many years. Started off as a sports massage therapist, moved into personal training, then online coaching. Trained over 1,000 people personally. And then moved on to, at the same time, I had a marketing agency in the back, and then I put it to the forefront in the last sort of couple of years. The thing with content is I never gave myself the advice that I give to all my clients, which is that you have to focus in on one thing, and you almost have to be an actor. So Andrew Tate is a great example of that. That guy's never going to grow his head. He's never going to put a shirt on for the kind of videos that he does. He's always going to stay in these Muay Thai shirts unless he does a podcast, in which case he's going to wear sunglasses. So there's definite non-negotiables. Or Gary Vee is always going to do the same pose with his 5 fingers up. You have to play to the brand, and you have to create a brand around yourself. So it took me the longest time ever to realize that people just don't care about the business content that I want to put out on my Instagram page as much as they do me pranking someone in my gym. That's the blunt reality of it. So I think there's a big part of that, which is you have to listen to, content is a game of ego, I think, to a big part of it. It's a game of instant gratification. So as soon as you see the likes pour in, the views pour in, you feel good about yourself. When you don't, you don't. And if you want to feel, if you want to do this for a long period of time, you're gonna have to have some kind of positive reward system, which means listen to your audience, see what they enjoy listening to, and enjoy watching, and do more of that essentially. But then, at the end of the day, I think recognizing how important attention is. Whatever. Let's use Gary Vee, for example, again. If Gary Vee was to release another NFT tomorrow, it's probably going to sell out. If he was going to release like a pickle brand or carrots, it's probably going to sell out too. It doesn't matter what he does because he's the brand. So, think about long term. It's a really good investment.
Oh no, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. It is just that level of investment.
I think Dan, especially like you recently said that to Rich as well, didn't you? About like, it's great posting like this content that helps you get your business out to people, but you need to enjoy it. You need to like be behind the brand as opposed to being told what to do and do it that way.
Apologies for interrupting the podcast. We know you're getting fully engrossed into this episode, and we really appreciate you stopping on the video on YouTube or on Spotify if you found us through one of the search pages. Make sure to leave a review and a subscription if you haven't already. But we just wanted to interject a point here that me and Nick have 15 years of coaching experience between us, and it's only getting better as we've got better guests on the podcast. The only way we can do that, though, is with the growth of our program that we've just released. We've got a 12-month Perform Well program, which has just dropped, and we'd love you guys to get involved in it. If you want to learn more details, make sure to head to the description, as we've got our website in there, which can give you a full overlay of the program. We're looking to help career-driven professionals, entrepreneurs, small business owners, and anyone dominate their life by improving their lifestyle. Me and Nick like to claim ourselves as experts in this area, and if you want to check out some of our other transformations, I'm sure you do. We've got some amazing people who have performed so well off the back of this program. Have a cracking day, and we really appreciate your time. Let's get back to the podcast.
And I think...
And reduce the friction. The friction, because you want to make sure it's as easy for you as humanly possible. Otherwise, you're not going to stick to it. It's the same with the diet. Accountability is another huge one. Like both Nick and Dan, you would have found the same with your clients. The reason people don't stick to plans is because they don't have the accountability. One of the examples I used to give to my prospects on a sales call would be, Dan, when you're a kid, do you remember when your mom used to make you go to the toilet and brush your teeth?
Mm-hmm.
And it would suck, but you'd still do it. And then the next day, it's the same shit. Your mom or dad goes to the toilet, makes you brush your teeth. And do you brush your teeth now, Dan?
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. So that's a beautiful example of how external accountability works to build an internal habit. That's exactly why habits stick. But at the start, you have to have that external accountability. So like with the 75 hard challenge, I always rope people into the challenge with me because I know I'm going to stick to it. I'm much more likely to stick to it. And we always see, with the Ice Bath Challenge, I think about 40 people said yes, 20 people ended up in a group chat. Most of them dropped off within the first couple of weeks. And it's the same thing with 75 Hard, with everything else as well.
Yeah.
It is like that. Like, Nick, you've got your Land's End to John O'Groats, haven't you? And you're doing it with a good friend of ours, Rob. And I think it's good you're doing it as a pairing for such a big thing like that, because I think you've seen like people like Ashley Kane. He's been doing his Ultraman, where he's been doing it, and he's just done it himself, to be totally honest with you. But because he's publicised it, he's obviously getting more people involved at that point in time.
Do you know why I wanted to do it with someone? It's the same reason why I'm with you, Dan. Is because entrepreneurship is lonely, and I learned. I'm 33, by the way, but I learned that growing in through my 20s, that running a business by myself sucked. And as much as I can, and I've got the skill set to do that, I found it a lot better to find someone that's on the same wavelength, share the highs and lows together. It just makes life so much better. Like, for all those entrepreneurs out there that are doing it by themselves, honestly, I feel for you. I do feel for you. Like, there are some real people that can do it. I struggle. I struggle with it. I like having someone there. And that makes the biggest difference.
I think that's also what's going to give you the edge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great that you guys have each other. At some point, you're not going to have each other.
Yeah.
At some point, there's statistically speaking, in the next 3 to 5 years, guys are going to do separate businesses. Hopefully, still remain friends, of course. But I think that's the thing that reframing is one of my good friends of mine is called Chris. He's a world-class hypnotist and NLP person. You guys have heard of Tony Robbins, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of his clients has fired Tony Robbins to work with Chris. That's the kind of level that Chris is at. And one of the most powerful lessons that Chris taught me is reframing, and to turn everything into just change your perception about whatever it is. So, for instance, if you're doing a public speaking gig, you're not doing this for yourself. Reframe it from the point of view of yourself. Like, you're not doing this because, most of the time we feel nervous because, oh, fuck, I don't want to fuck up. And you make it about yourself, but make it about the person who needs to hear whatever you have to say. You've got 10 years of expertise in whatever else you do. There's somebody in that room that has to hear it. And they have to hear it without you mumbling or stumbling or being shy about it. So I think the same thing with business. One of the things that helps me enjoy the tough moments is because I know that so many people would have given up at so many different points of my journey. Same with your journey. What's beautiful about your journey together, guys, is that there's two of you. And when you just always compare yourselves to two other Dan and Nicks, well, as soon as there's another bit of hardship, just be like, the other two will probably give up, but we won't.
I love that, man.
No,
I'm going to say something, Kamal, because I believe that you help personal trainers, right, and fit pros. Is that right?
Yeah, to a degree. I've released like a mini internal sales book for my team. So I own a gym in Ipswich, and my goal is to make sure that my personal trainers are well set up for their life as well.
I love that.
So I help them with sales and stuff wherever I can.
So is that something that you're growing into? Like, you're going to be offering more services for personal trainers to grow online, maybe, or in person?
Potentially. It's not a big goal of mine, but I will probably release a book on personal training sales at some point.
Okay.
Just because there's so many things that I thought are important about the personal training business, and 90% of them weren't, and I just didn't do the other 10% that would have helped way sooner.
Well, the reason why I bring this up is obviously, like, as personal trainers, me and Dan, we have a lot of personal trainer friends. They get interested. They listen to the podcast just like anyone else. And because you're so experienced with, running a gym, you've got personal trainers, working for you and stuff like that. What is the biggest struggle you see personal trainers face? And if you could offer them one piece of advice to, like, completely change the outcome of the next 5 years, what would that be?
I think it's the same with every business person. I think most people face the same struggle, that we think the summer is going to last forever, and or the winter is going to last forever, depending on what season that you're in. When it's bad, you think it's going to be bad forever. When it's good, you think it's going to be good forever. And it's just recognizing that there's seasons of life. Like, I don't know, if you're about 90% capacity now, there's going to be a day when you're 50% capacity. So your job is to prepare for that 50% capacity time. Fill up your pipeline, make sure you're still doing all the milestones, all the KPIs that you have to do. And obviously, you have to enjoy life. So just don't forget the most important basics of business, which is making sure that your pipeline is filled up, because it can become very discouraging. The worst thing that you can possibly do to yourself as a personal trainer is let's just say you've got 10 clients a week coming in and you just started out, you've got 10 hours a week being filled up. You're trying to get more, but then one person cancels, another person cancels. Before you know it, you have one client, your bills are everywhere, and you're thinking about what's going to be my next job. And I used to go through the same thing. When I first quit I had a pretty good sales job for Panasonic. I was selling TVs and soundbars. And I remember coming to the point where I was like, I'm never going to focus on personal training properly until I have something chasing me. So without any savings, I should have probably saved money, but I didn't. And I just quit my job that week, and just started going all out on personal training. And granted, I did make it work. I did get fully booked within the first sort of 3 months. But it was very discouraging for those 3 months. Like, there's so many times where I thought, I should probably get a job. I should probably do this, or, have a part-time job, and then you buy yourself comfort. So keep filling up your pipeline. Right. I think it's a big one. And also, like, make it fun for yourself as well. You're changing people's lives. If you're a personal trainer, you're a therapist, you're taking on so many different stories every single day. Find ways of offloading, because if you've just done 5 back-to-back sessions and you heard about, I don't know, Jessica cheating on Dave, and then something else happened, like, it fills up your mind. So one of the analogies I'd make is, I don't know if anyone's listening to it on Spotify, I have a glass in front of me, but you start your day off with like an empty glass, and then you make breakfast, you train, the glass gets filled up a little bit. Then you see a client, you expend more energy and more energy, more energy. Before you know it, the glass is filled to the rim at the end of the day. And then you go to sleep. And most people just scroll on social media and then head to bed eventually. The most important thing you can do is just empty your glass for the next day. Otherwise, you're gonna have so much shit filled up in your subconscious mind that you're gonna get very resentful. So serve yourself, like offload your mind every single day, and fill up your pipeline.
Mate, that is a great advice. I mean, not only is I can apply that to myself, and I'm sure Dan as well, and sure yourself, Kamal. But yeah, for any personal trainer listening and business owner as well, like, yeah, that advice is literally life changing. I think the pipeline is probably the most important when it comes to like a strategy side of things to build a business, because I think a lot of us as trainers, we get into it because we want to look good. We want to help people look good. But then we're like, we have no one to help to look good because we don't know how to sell, we don't know how to market. And so if you're going to run a business, you're going to be self-employed, marketing and sales are foundational. They are foundational. You need to be able to talk to people. I don't know how the introverts out there do it, honestly. I don't know how they do it. Like, okay, they might build pipelines or funnels or something, but when it comes to talking to people, it is essential. And I love it, man. Life-changing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. No, I mean, I want to come in there a little bit as well, because I'm in the middle, so I'm an ambivert. I can be introverted, but I can be extroverted at the same time, and a lot of it, one, is driven by anxiety, to be totally honest with you. But like that can fluctuate throughout the day, and the things you were saying resonate with me, because I've had a big turnaround in the last 6 months for me. I'm living on my own, like I'm getting used to paying full bill, that kind of stuff, and it is a big turnaround in your life, and you squeeze basically that big buffer you had, and it just drops majorly. So it just gives you that little bit of like always thinking, if I lose this one client, then I'm down in this position. If I lose this client, then I'm here. And you're constantly thinking about that battle. And I guess we can almost correlate that over to kind of people's training journeys when they feel a bit of the squeeze of kind of time's normally a big one. So they feel like there's another block of time that comes on that limits their training by a little bit. So we obviously wanted to speak about getting people into elite shape as well. And like we're talking about the business owners out there, the self-employed. For yourself, what would be kind of three main areas, like three main skills or habits to pick up to get themselves into elite shape in, say, 16 weeks?
I think the first ones that come to mind is to add stuff in rather than take stuff away. What I mean by that is don't change anything about your life and just improve one thing. Just add one thing. It could be drinking 4 liters of water. It could be working out. It could be just doing a 20-minute walk. I really like short-term goals because they help you recognize just how much you can do in a very short space of time. But I'm really big on sort of lifelong habits and just trying to figure out what really works for you, So 3 things that would help someone change their life in the next 16 weeks. Definitely accountability, for one, and with as many people as possible. So people at work have to know that you're on a journey. Otherwise, if you reach for a piece of cake, they'll find it normal. Whereas if they know that you're on a diet, they'll be like, Dave, what the fuck are you doing? So, text all your friends that you're going to be on a journey, drag a few people along with you. More importantly, just get a coach. If you're going to do it, if you're going to start a fitness journey, I think the best thing you can possibly do for yourself is get a coach. Purely because you're going to make some mistakes along the way. And the advice I'd give to anyone who hasn't had a good transformation yet, which is probably for most of us, is get a coach and get as many sessions as you can done in those first 3 months. Because that coach is going to teach you those lifelong habits that you can take away with you for years to come. Whereas let's just say you did 100 sessions, but you spread them over a course of 2 years, you're probably not going to get the benefit of those sessions as well as you would have done if you did them in 3 months. So just condense that knowledge so you can do everything properly for years to come. And I know it's going to cost, but you're going to lose that money anyway. Most people just end up with 0 or in a minus at the end of the month anyway. You find a way to waste your money.
Mm-hmm.
If you're probably going to go out to the bar and drink some stuff. You're probably going to go to the cinema. You're probably going to go book a holiday. So why not, just for the next 3 months, get yourself a personal trainer like Dan or Nick and get yourself in good shape. And then you can actually enjoy your new body and new habits. And to be honest, probably the things that you've spent your money on are probably going to change anyway. I think for most people, with most clients personally, I found that they haven't really been drinking as much since doing like a transformation plan. Their eating habits have changed. They save money on going out, and they just live a much higher quality of life. There's other things to enjoy other than food, because at the end of the day, food is fuel.
Love it. Decent.
Great. Spot on.
So, where do we go from this, boys? Right. Well, Kamal,
Yes, sir.
been an absolute pleasure, mate. Been an absolute pleasure. We're going to have to wrap up in a second, okay? Thank you very much for being patient, by the way, with the internet cutting out. Absolutely weird
It's
situation.
my pleasure. I enjoyed it.
So we've always talked about doing longer podcasts. Like, I feel like we'd get so much more value out if we did a longer podcast. But we have time constraints at the moment. But mate, thank you very much.
My pleasure. We'll do a part 2.
Appreciate you coming on, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. We are working through. So we've had like we're up to episode. What episode is this, Nick? Like 55, 54?
56.
Oh hell yeah!
56.
You're already in top 5% of podcasts in the world.
Yeah. We're trying to push along.
Scale mode, baby.
So
Scale mode now.
we are thinking of going back through some of the old guests we've got on there, and obviously we'd love to have you on to go for the longer podcast as well. We'd love to get you in person too. Like, we're very obviously flexible where we can be. So we can hopefully in the future meet up in a middle ground that makes it a lot easier and do it in person and talk through more things, because your story's great. I mean, as I say, you've been through the whole works with everyone. You've got that emotional connection to the job and you're passionate about the job you're doing. And now you're helping people as well on that level, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, at the end, we normally plug our guests. So where can people find out about your business and where can people find out about you? So this is Instagram handles, websites, whatever you want to plug away, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Just follow me on Life of Kamal, and whatever I release is probably going to be released from there. So it's Life of Kamal.
Beautiful.
Cool, perfect, lovely stuff. Well, thank you very much for watching, guys. We really appreciate you tuning in as always to the PerformWell podcast. Obviously, go check out Kamal, go check out myself, go check out Nick, and make sure if you are watching this or listening to this on Spotify, drop a 5-star follow. We are appreciating all the reviews we're getting on there. Make sure on YouTube you're subscribing, and make sure as well we're pushing up as many views as we can. Like the video so it gets out to more people. The whole goal with these podcasts is to help people at the end of the day. It's why we do our jobs, and we want to try to get it out to as many people as possible. So we really appreciate you listening, and we will catch you guys later.